Hello, Internet, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
And this is Unpopular Culture, and today we're looking at the new trailer for Batman vs. Superman that premiered at Comic-Con.
Looks pretty fucking cool.
And for reference, before this trailer came out, both Jake and I think, were pretty trepidatious about this film.
A little bit. The first teaser trailer that they launched was a little sketchy at best, especially when they showed the shitty Batman line.
Yeah, do you bleed? Anyway, but this trailer came out, and I think we're both a little more confident about it. Because as far as Man of Steel goes, I thought it was an alright movie, but the ending destruction, I'm one of those people who thought it was a little gratuitous. And I understand the stakes, and that's intentional, but I just thought it could have been done better. I'm not against the destruction as a whole, I just think it wasn't done very well.
And as for me, I thought it made sense since this was his first romp as Superman, and a lot of people gave it a lot of flack. And I don't know if they're making this movie in response to that, like you think they might be, or if it was a plan all along. Either way, they're addressing it, and I think that means Man of Steel gets a higher grade now. If that's the case, then Man of Steel becomes kind of the Batman Begins to this movie, which would be, hopefully, at least Dark Knight quality.
Yeah.
So, you know, it could be Batman Begins makes a good prequel, Man of Steel makes a good prequel, and this could be their kind of like their coup de grace.
So, without further ado, let's go ahead and check out this trailer, and we'll obviously be pausing it and talking about the things we see.
Today is a day for truth.
I don't like Holly Hunter because
don't?
of her lisp. If she's doing big monologues,
else?
is that lispist?
What else is she in?
Other stuff. Just
I don't know.
Don't have her be the big speaker. It takes me out of it a little bit. That's the only qualm I have about this whole trailer, honestly, is the very beginning of it. I was like, ugh, stop talking, Holly Hunter. But I can get over it. She's a good actress, but I just, ugh.
And here we see Superman coming down in front of Congress. Apparently it's some sort of hearing all about the events at the end of Man of Steel, which makes sense. I'm glad they're addressing it, and it's becoming a major plot point.
And I love the God hates aliens sign down there.
That's funny.
It is, though. It makes sense that the Earth would have this pocket of people that would have this strong reaction to him, especially given the crazy amounts of destruction we saw. Though he was the hero, he's still like, no one can defeat him if he decides to be bad.
Not to mention, I'm assuming a lot of the people in this might parrot some of the things that critics of the first movie said. They might be like, why didn't you try and take him somewhere else? Why didn't you? And he might have justification for that, like it was in the heat of the moment. I was trying to do my best. Whatever. Very interesting, and I'm glad they're at least addressing this. So here, of course, Henry Cavill again.
Looking smoky.
I know, reprising his role as Superman. The suit looks a little different. I think it's a little brighter than it was in Man of Steel.
A little more textured.
I like that they made it brighter. I'm assuming it's intentional because they needed a good contrast with like the Batman suit. And this needs to be more colorful for that to really work.
I think so. He looks good, though. The only thing I always have a problem with Cavill's kind of presentation of this, no matter what situation he's in, even when later we'll see him with his mom, he's always so stoic.
I know.
And so I kind of hope we get a little bit more out of him than stoic Superman, which I get a lot of the time, especially in this situation. But you're going to be putting him up against Batman, who's always pretty brooding. So I think like having some sort of balance there would be nice. I don't know how much we're getting into this as far as the trailer shows us, but
I agree. I think the stoicism has problems when he's being Clark Kent, because even when he's being Clark Kent, it becomes
a little.
He still feels like
flat.
he still seems like he's being Superman, and obviously he is Superman. But when he's being Clark Kent, he should be trying a little harder to hide.
Like Dean Cain did a good job as that, which is surprising, but yeah.
The world needs to know what happened and to know what he stands for.
Striking image of Superman walking into this hearing. The one, I mean, it's not really criticism, it's just we kind of saw the same kind of thing in Iron Man 2. I think it'll probably be done better here because this movie's clearly trying to be more darker, dramatic and
I do like the cinematography, though. That's a really, really good shot. It's symmetrical and it's neat.
That kind of power is very dangerous.
First look at Bruce Wayne running towards events in Metropolis, which is awesome. I love that this Bruce Wayne, the first thing we see of him is him acting like I think Bruce Wayne would. He would be running towards the destruction, obviously, because he's Batman and he feels the need to protect people. I was a little worried about Ben Affleck, but
he looks good.
I know, he does look really good.
And especially in the up-close shots later on, you could see it in his eyes, and he's a much better actor than he used to be, and a lot of people gave the choice of him a lot of shit, and also he's directing the new Batman movie, and I love it. I think seeing him in action, I didn't like him in the Batman suit without seeing him as Bruce Wayne the first time. Love it now. I'm sold.
I really like this because if you're gonna try and get Bruce Wayne, Batman, to really be suspicious and fucking hate Superman at first,
this is a good way to do it.
Endangering a child, and probably that kid's parents are dead now.
Right.
That's the way to do it.
And it's such a good shot because you can see how angry he is, and he's being Bruce Wayne, but he's definitely Batman right here. You know what I'm saying?
And he's trying to comfort this kid to the best that he can, but he sees the utter terrible catastrophe that just happened around him. Pretty awesome.
Let the record show that this committee holds him responsible.
That's a good line. I like that. It tells you the direction that we're going to go with this film. Is this a good thing? Is Superman a positive? And I kind of like that question because you would, in reality, ask these questions when you see this fucking guy that can fly and shoot lasers out of his face.
Yeah. And that's something you didn't see in the... And obviously it was a different time, so you wouldn't. The other Superman movies, it was just, oh, Superman, awesome, right, great, which is great for the time. I understand why that's good, but it's just interesting to see a different take on it, because we've seen Superman, just everyone seeing him as Superman, heralded as fucking awesome.
Pretty
He's
much
the
Captain
best thing.
America with a cape.
And now seeing almost real-world type ramifications of...
I like that.
And you could argue, oh, that's too dark, it's too real, that's not fun. Well, yeah, Marvel movies for that. These movies are trying to be something different, and I love...
The DC universe is a better universe to go a little bit darker.
Yeah, and I really, really love the Marvel movies, but I'm okay with something that's not as funny.
Let it be its own thing, and I think that's okay.
Not sure what this image is. It might be...
I think it's Wayne Manor, and that looks, from behind, it looks like Alfred.
It's just weird because it's so dilapidated, and usually you see Wayne Manor... I mean, it's on the outskirts of Gotham, generally speaking. It's right outside the city.
It could have burned down at some point.
I guess so.
I guess we don't know at what point in the Batman's timeline we are. We know that Batman has been on the streets for 15 years.
According to Comic-Con, they said he's been out for about 15 years.
So, depending on what universe that they're working in, I'm sure they're working with an amalgam of different universes, and we see some references to Robin and stuff later. Shit could have happened to Wayne Manor, and he could be in the penthouse at this point.
Fair.
So I have no idea, but it could be something else entirely.
First look at the Batcave. Very cool, very modern. It doesn't look like really any Batcave I think I've ever seen before because it looks very clean. But you could argue he's been doing this for so long, it makes sense for him to have a more modern, clean, right to the point Batcave.
This style, actually looking at it in a still, makes me think that we could have an actual rogues gallery in a Batman movie.
Yeah.
Because it's set up in such a way that it looks like he keeps shit. Little mementos around.
We'll see it later, but you can see over on the right-hand side that costume. That's the Robin suit.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming he maybe has some other memorabilia sitting around. It'd be a great place to have some hints towards things that are going to be happening in the DC universe in the future. Maybe some stuff from the Riddler. We obviously know the Joker's coming, so we could have some stuff with that. Maybe some Catwoman stuff. You never know, but it'd be a great place to have some fun Easter eggs.
That's how it starts.
That is very interesting, and that's what leads me to believe that we're post-Death of the Family storylines. So Barbara's been shot, Oracle. Jason Todd's been tortured, maybe killed, probably not. He's probably Red Hood at this point. Tim Drake is Robin, and Dick would be Nightwing. So hopefully this means Nightwing is a thing, because I fucking love Nightwing.
Nightwing getting his own movie would be pretty rad. This makes me wonder if this is the Joker sending this to him too, though I don't know how... That would imply the Joker might know who Batman is if it's going to Wayne, or he somehow was able to send something to Batman, and I don't know how he would do that.
I don't know. It's very interesting. It looks very Joker-esque, but I think that might just be our Dark Knight influence with the ha thing happening.
Maybe, but with what we see later in a little bit in the trailer, it kind of ties back to this, so we'll see.
The fever.
And see how shocked he looks, almost as if, like, someone knows, maybe.
Right.
I could be, maybe I'm reaching, maybe I'm just pulling stuff out of nowhere, but to me it seems like he's not just angry about what he's seeing, but a little shocked that someone knew how to get this to him, maybe.
And again, I'm looking at this Affleck stuff, and we're not getting, obviously, very many lines out of him during this trailer. We get a little bit. But it's behind his eyes. It's not Christian Bale where it's just on the surface. It really does look like he's doing a really good job. So
And I'm glad we don't get a lot of lines out of him. Batman, most of his stuff comes from internal monologue, and obviously you can't necessarily do that kind of thing in a movie.
Or exposition,
but
stuff like that.
As long as you see it on his face and you see he's kind of contemplating and thinking, because Batman spends a lot of his time in his own head
right.
thinking things through.
And that's a big part of what we never got out of the Dark Knight series, which I love. We didn't get Detective Batman whatsoever, really. You had some tech stuff, but this looks like a detective Batman with skills, and I don't know. It just looks like it's going to be a really, really cool, pretty new thing for us.
Yep. Training room, awesome. I'm glad they're going to be referencing him training, which, yeah, it's a Batman movie. You generally see him working out in one way or another, but I do like him pulling this big tire or whatever kind of rough setup.
Well, kind of the idea is he's been not as active lately, right?
Yeah, and I'm wondering, this could actually, because it looks like we saw the Batcave earlier being pretty modern. This doesn't look like that at all. I'm wondering if this is maybe a flashback, and you can't really see his face, so maybe it's supposed to be younger Batman.
His hair looks a little bit darker, but it is wet, so I don't...
Yeah.
The turns, good man.
Batsuit, we saw this in the first teaser, looks really good. I like the texture on it.
Really love the texture. It looks like kind of a... They went with, instead of the armor plating that we've been seeing a lot, even in the Arkham games, to kind of this weave thing, which just gives it more of a Dark Knight Returns feel.
Oh yeah, especially the cowl really gets Dark Knight Returns with the really short ears.
I love the short ears. I got a little annoyed with the tall ears in some Batman.
I like the whole cowl because not only is it a solid piece, you can still turn the head, so it's a little more comic booky because it still looks like it's all one solid piece. But unlike the Dark Knight where they had to explain it's like a separate piece and it looks kind of weird, this one looks like it comes straight out of a comic book, but it also allows the actor to turn their neck for action and stuff, which is really great.
Cruel.
This is our first look at the new Alfred, and if you know anything about Alfred, he's usually wearing the tux, the butlery looking thing. Usually has a mustache, not usually has glasses. His hair isn't chic like that. Totally new look. This is Jeremy Irons. I really like it. I dig it. He's a really great actor, so I'm hoping that we can get some good stuff out of him.
It looks really, really good, and I like the direction they're going. My one thing would be, how old is this Alfred supposed to be? Because him and Bruce Wayne look like they're almost the same age.
But Jeremy Irons is in his 60s, right?
I know, he looks really good for his age, but Affleck's only like, what?
He's his 40, maybe?
40, mid-40s probably.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. But, so Jeremy Irons would have been 15.
Yeah.
Or 20 when Bruce Wayne's parents died. We'll let it pass. Jeremy Irons is good looking.
This bat...
I like that.
Good batarang. I kind of assumed it would be more of a throwing star weapon, because in the movies they tend to be. I kind of like the Arkham games version, though, where it's like a piece of technology that can do various things. But yeah, I get why that wouldn't necessarily work for a movie. Looks a lot like the Christopher Nolan trilogy ones, just with this...
A little more stubby.
Yeah, because that's what this bat symbol looks like. Yeah. So it's pretty much the same idea, the throwing star, but with this bat symbol.
Yeah. Vigilantes, like a one-man reign of terror.
And that's interesting to me. Is that like a boot print? He got kicked in the chest, or is it just it laid flat on him and hit him?
It makes me think maybe he branded him almost to say to the cops, "I did this. I'm Batman. I'm here."
He has nothing against torture, so I mean, like, that's kind of a neat thing. If that's something he does in this film, that's kind of cool.
Obligatory shot of bats flying towards the camera, because you can't not.
You don't get to decide what the right thing is. Nobody cares about Clark Kent taking on the Batman.
Clark Kent, who apparently in this movie is chasing a lead on the Batman, because in this movie universe, he's not necessarily a publicly known figure yet. He's still sort of an urban legend.
Yeah, which is interesting, because he's been around for 15 years.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but I do like Batman usually when he's not a publicly known figure more than I like him when he's known.
It's better because you can keep the fear thing going, because once you find out too much, the idea of a Batman stops being fearful, and that's kind of his whole shtick is... Yeah. I need to prey on criminals via fear. So I think it's interesting that we're going to kind of get this Batman's investigating Superman, Clark Kent's investigating Batman.
Yeah. I like this symbols on the chest, and I don't mean the Superman symbol itself.
The symbols inside it.
Yeah, the texturing. And we had texturing on the Superman Returns that were little S's. Yeah. I didn't really like those, but I like this because it looks sort of alien, and it looks like it could be something that Superman's armor or suit would be made out of.
This means something. It's all some people have. It's all that gives them hope.
This I really like because I'm glad in this movie we're going to get Superman helping people with natural disasters and saving them like Superman would.
Yeah.
Very,
Jesus-y.
I swear that shot of him is like CG from the first movie, though. It looks almost identical, in fairness. How many ways can you animate a dude flying with a cape flapping? But you have that God from on high imagery that they're probably going to shove in our face a little bit. But I get it. It's a Superman movie. I don't mind it too much.
People hate what they don't understand.
Ma Kent is back, giving a little monologue to Clark about how he doesn't owe the world anything. I kind of like that. Could be a good discussion, or it could be horribly boring. I don't know yet.
He looks, again, really stoic in it.
Yeah.
So I don't think Cavill's going to be the shining point from this. I think we're all going to be like, wow, Batman was awesome.
Be their hero, Clark. Be their angel. Be their...
That's a cool shot.
This
I really
is
like this
interesting. I'm assuming this is just going to be after he saves a bunch of people, probably in Mexico, it looks like, maybe during the Day of the Dead or something. They're all like, oh, Superman, thank you, saved us. And he does look a little conflicted about this, though, which I do like. I'm glad he's not just basking in it like an asshole. He does seem kind of conflicted about all these people who seem to be almost not worshiping him necessarily.
It's close.
It's high adoration, let's call it that.
monument. Be anything they need you to be. Or be none of it. You don't owe this world a thing. You never did.
Do you know the oldest lie in America?
And here we have Lex Luthor for the first time with the senator we saw at the beginning. I'm assuming she's going to be in his pocket, and that's going to be Lex Luthor. I was kind of worried when they cast Eisenberg in this, because
He's young.
When you think Lex Luthor, you think pretty much the opposite of him. I was thinking someone like a Bryan Cranston, older guy who's kind of gruff and could play a businessman. But seeing as though
the young tycoon thing is I know he was in the Facebook movie, and
but I think that's intentional. I think they got him because they're like, oh yeah, we want someone like a Zuckerberg who's a young person who's all of a sudden
cocky,
who's very cocky, and all of a sudden thrust to be in charge of this huge company because of some innovation they made.
Yeah. And if you notice, he has hair. And obviously Lex Luthor famously does not have hair. If you're not familiar with it, the original story had Superman being responsible somehow for Lex Luthor's hair loss, and that's why Lex hates him so much, which is hilarious. So I'm hoping that they make fun of that a little bit. What they'll probably do is he'll just shave it.
Maybe. My thought is that based on what we're seeing later in the trailer...
You could be right. It could be a side effect.
I think it's going to be a side effect of what we see later, what we'll talk about that when we get there.
Senator, the devils don't come from hell beneath us.
Very strange interaction between Superman and Lex Luthor. I don't know what this is
I'm very interested.
all about.
What I'm thinking, this scenario right here is, this looks like a conversation about touchability, as far as, like, Superman's relatively untouchable, and then later on we're going to get a shot of him next to some probably kryptonite. So this might be the scene where he's weakened, and he's close to him, and like, you can't do anything.
And Lex Luthor's
and having
just,
this really cool monologue.
Luthor's proving a point. Like,
Yeah.
I could do it.
They come from the sky.
Incredibly important shot, and we learned a lot from this shot.
Yeah.
Zod's body. I'm guessing Lex Luthor has found it because I'm pretty sure the fight took place, at least part of it, on the LexCorp property. And I'd assume...
There was LexCorp stuff around through the fight.
The death itself occurred in like a train station or something like that, but I gotta assume someone would get a hold of this body. And I'm assuming he's going to be using it to develop some anti-Superman technology, probably kryptonite, maybe some armor, because Lex Luthor sometimes gets some armor that he uses to fight superhumans.
The Zod armor looked a lot like just a black version of the Lex armor that we see him a lot, especially in like the animated series. So I'm hoping we get that, even though Jesse Eisenberg would be weird in an action scene.
Yeah.
Outside of Zombieland, we haven't really seen him in anything close to that. But I think just judging by the direction they're taking it and making everything that happened in Man of Steel important to this, I think that's a good way to do it, and we'll see how Eisenberg pulls that off.
20 years in Gotham. How many good guys?
This is
a great shot.
This is one of my favorite shots because we have the Robin armor. If you can't tell, because if you weren't really thinking about it, you might just think, oh, Batman suit, what's up? No, Robin suit. You can see the R under the spray paint. Obviously, bow staff. More importantly, though, the writing on it. Ha ha ha, joke's on you, Batman.
That's Jason Todd all the way,
It's
right?
It's gotta be the suit that Jason was wearing when the Joker killed him, and this has to be a taunt from the Joker. Now, interestingly, I don't think Batman would leave the writing on it, though, so would this imply that the Joker somehow broke into the Batcave?
Or maybe he does as a reminder.
Oh, maybe.
Because you know how Batman's pretty self-hating whenever he fails. So, I don't know. It seems kind of a reflective thing. Because the paint it doesn't look fresh. It doesn't look like the Joker snuck in and did that. Also, I don't think the Joker's capable of such things. But it looks a little worn, especially the B down here on Batman and the H up top left. I don't know. But it does confirm sidekicks and the Bat family, which is awesome.
Left.
Here we have Wonder Woman, or Diana. Right now she's not in her Wonder Woman garb. So she's going to be going undercover as a civilian, apparently. That's interesting.
It's weird that they shoehorned her in.
I think even though it's titled Batman v Superman, I think there's going to be more Justice League stuff than they're willing to admit right now, because
right.
I've heard Aquaman is in this more than you would think. And,
really?
And he's not even in the trailer. So
like, we might only be seeing 45 minutes of a 2.5 hour long movie.
How many stayed that way?
Superman with some soldiers, all of which have Superman patches on their shoulders.
Very interesting. We get a little scene later with Batman fighting these guys.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to think that Superman would ever conscript people with Superman S's on his shoulders. So some of it looks like dreamy, like a dream, but that would be kind of a weird scene to have for no reason.
I'm guessing maybe after the events of Metropolis, Batman goes to sleep or is fear gassed or something, who knows, drugged or something, and has a nightmare about what could happen to Superman in the future, like a totalitarian dictatorship, or maybe something we can't even fucking imagine is happening with Lex Luthor and these guys. Who knows?
The power to wipe out the entire human race.
Nice shot of Batman in his bat armor, which looks almost exactly like it did in Dark Knight Returns.
Yep.
So that's cool. Bat signal, which is interesting because Batman's been around for 15 years, but the police department still doesn't trust him. I don't even know if Gordon's in this. Is this the first time we're seeing the bat signal? Is this the unveiling of the bat signal, you think?
Well, Gordon's always been the one guy in on it, though, hasn't
I know,
he?
but he's not. I don't even know if he's in this movie, so
he might be.
At the very least, they'll probably reference him.
If this looks like even the bat signal, or the symbol, looks like it's borrowing a lot from Dark Knight Returns, and Gordon has been a thing in Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, I know, but I'm just
so what I'm hoping is
because he's unveiling it. You know what I mean?
I think it's just because it's been inactive for a while.
Oh, maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
And we have to destroy it.
I do like that the eyes are white in this, because it's hard to do white eyes, as is often the Batman is depicted as having white eyes in comics and animated series, but that's a good way to do it. It's very similar to what they did in Dark Knight with the radar vision, but, you know, whatever he's going to see here.
Yeah, and I like that it's a mix of real and CG. Like obviously the head is a little bit CG, but it looks like he actually had to wear a suit, and, you know, the fabric on the cape looks real.
The whole suit is real. I've seen it at the...
I know, I'm just saying, like, they doctored it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, probably. The rain, they might have a little bit of an effect on that to make sure the rain falls the way they want it to in the eyes, obviously, but it does look good. Yeah. Someone diving underwater for something, maybe something to do with kryptonite, or to do with Aquaman, or maybe both. People on horseback, I could not even imagine what this is going to be, so I'm not even going to pretend to speculate on that.
Old West Batman.
Oh, wow. Are we finally going to find out what happened to Bruce Wayne's parents? It's such a mystery. We've never fucking seen that before.
It's weird to me that they would hire this guy to play Bruce Wayne's dad if they weren't going to do a really, really long kind of scene like this.
I know, because he's a known actor.
What I'm hoping is this is just kind of a thing that they threw in and they just wanted quality and like, hey, come on, we'll give you a little bit of money and you can hang out for a minute. And
I just hope they don't waste 10 minutes of the fucking runtime when we could be seeing other stuff on Batman's origin, because we've seen it
for 3 minutes.
We've all seen it about 5 times at this point. We get it. We get the idea. And I understand you want to establish this universe's version of that. But as far as Superman goes, when you established it in Man of Steel, there's more you can do with that story than you can do with kids' parents get shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot you could change as far as this one goes. Flying over a city that's on fire, I can't imagine this is going to happen because of Superman. It might, but I don't think it will. I'm assuming whenever the big bad of the movie, because there's going to be some sort of villain that shows himself, whether it's Lex himself or what I've heard as a rumor, and if you don't want to be spoiled by a potential rumor, then skip ahead a little bit, but I'll try and talk about it here. At the end of this movie, supposedly, Doomsday might be showing up because they have Zod's body. Apparently they took some of the tissue from it and were able to clone some stuff and use it to create Doomsday, which traditionally I think is made of Superman material, but whatever, it's the same idea.
Be really interesting. And actually, Doomsday kills Superman at one point, and actually is the one of the coolest video games for Super Nintendo, Death and Return of Superman.
I've also heard that in order to fight Doomsday, not only Batman and Superman, but Wonder Woman and Aquaman and the guy who will become Cyborg team up, and then during the fight he is injured, and it's implied that he's now going to become Cyborg.
That'd be cool. I would like that. I hope, because it's Dawn of Justice. This is obviously our lead into the Justice League.
Yeah.
If it's going to be that, and you're going to have Doomsday be there, I don't know how you do that without killing Superman at the end.
I don't know if they do that so soon. They can have him come back another time, but I don't think they'd kill Superman at the end of this, unless that's the entire reason they formed the Justice League. Batman now sees the need for a force like them, and a force like Superman, even though now he's dead. Now we need to come together and fill the void that he has left, because now they're huge threats, because now they know people like us exist.
If they kill him off, what that means is we get a super family thing with, so you have Steel, you have Superboy, and then the guy that shoots lasers out of his hands, and then you'd have Superman come back. I don't know if they'd kill him off initially to get rid of him right now, because when Superman comes back, he's usually that energy dude.
Yeah.
So he's like blue.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would do that quickly, so I don't think he will die at the end of this, but I don't know how you'd have to, if it is Doomsday, it'd be interesting to see them not kill him off.
One more thing before we keep going. This is probably the Bat Jet or the Bat Wing, whatever. I'm really hoping that the shot is cropped and following close behind is Superman and the invisible jet next to it, or Wonder Woman if she can fly in this version.
I'd rather she just flew.
Some versions fly, some don't.
The invisible jet's so lame.
I think it's a fun idea though. Of course it's fucking stupid, but come on.
I know.
Come on. Lois Lane is of course returning, and next to her is a hipster who likes to paint things on his face. What that shot looks like to me with Bruce Wayne, and it looks like he's about to meet someone. It looks like maybe he's about to meet Clark Kent or something, and by the face, it wouldn't surprise me if he knows Clark Kent is Superman at this point, like he figured it out. First look at Wonder Woman. For what it is, it looks pretty good. I think it's hard to do a Wonder Woman costume. Yeah. I kind of prefer, why can't you have pants? It's so weird.
What I'm thinking, here's my hope is, and this is just my hope, this is obviously her costume from where her, country.
Themyscira.
From. Yeah, but I mean, like it's traditional, and maybe when they move on to the next one, she'll be more westernized a little bit. Maybe she'll have some pants and something more practical, because it makes sense to have this where she's from. It doesn't make sense to have this when Batman's in a full suit of armor and you're fighting Lex Luthor. You know what I'm saying?
It just seems a little pandery. I get it. I understand.
I'm hoping that we get a better Wonder Woman costume. This is a neat shot.
Desert Batman, and this I think lends a little bit of credence to maybe the dream sequence of a future where Superman is taken over, because it looks post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
And Batman's in a kind of a cool apocalypse Batman, or at least desert Batman suit.
Yeah, and he's wearing normal pants.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? It's the apocalypse. It's hard to get bat pants.
Okay, so he just snapped a guy's neck.
Yeah, really cool fight scenes we're getting with Batman in this, and I'm glad we're finally getting something that looks like Batman actually fighting. Because you see in Dark Knight and stuff, he punches people.
Slow and
it feels, for lack of a better term, it feels like a real fight, whereas I think Batman should feel like more than a real fight. It should feel like a superhero, and sure, he doesn't have powers, but Batman's
Batman.
He's peak human. He's peak DC human, and he should fight more than just a normal person does.
And actually, he looks a lot faster in this movie. Yeah. I don't know if that's just a film speed thing or the choreography was actually faster. It's probably a little bit of both. But yeah, those Superman guys were attacking Batman, and I don't know, I'm sticking with Dreamscape until I see it, because it looks very fake. It doesn't look like an actual thing they'd put in the universe. That right there looked like he just moved really fast, and that's not anything we've been seeing out of any Batman live-action films ever.
Mm-hmm.
He is not our enemy.
This is a big shot.
Lex Luthor revealing kryptonite for the first time. I'm assuming, we talked about it earlier, this is probably going to be how he loses his hair, because kryptonite is radioactive, at least to some extent. I think he's going to lose his hair because of it.
I think so too, or
I don't think it'll be a major point of the movie where he'll be like, I lost my hair, but I think for the audience, his hair will start coming out and he'll notice it.
I don't think it'll be like a point of contention towards Superman. Also, I think the Zod armor might have something to do with it. Like, I think all of it might be interconnected. But yeah, this is cool. And you had an interesting theory, like maybe the giant machine that Zod was using created it.
The planet engine that Zod was using at the end of Man of Steel. I'm assuming the impact points, which I believe one was in Metropolis and one was on the other side of the planet in the middle of the Indian Ocean, which would explain why there was a shot of someone diving.
And the Atlantis thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking that somehow the planet engine creates kryptonite out of normal rocks and stuff.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, and that would explain how Aquaman comes into it because of the shit that happened there, and maybe he's trying to investigate what all this kryptonite is and what's going on.
And again, that's not confirmed. That's just
this is speculation. Totally wild speculation.
Black and blue.
Boom, nice hit. And I like it. You can feel the weight of this. Normally CG is pretty bad, but I actually do feel the weight of that, and I can see if this kept going on long enough, this fight, I'm sure Superman would win, but I could see how Batman in this suit could probably get
surprise him a little bit.
Yeah, get some good hits in.
And a lot of people are gonna bitch about this movie no matter what, about the Batman syndrome, where Batman could beat just any of them. But in this DC universe, he's not Christian Bale in a bat suit. He's the world's greatest detective in a bat suit, and also peak human, like you're saying. I think at least him hanging in there and maybe still getting beaten, but Superman doesn't kill him, is fine. If he beats the shit out of Superman, okay, I grant it. They went full Batman syndrome, but I think because a lot of people have an issue with that, and I don't like that. I think Batman's resourceful enough to pull it off a little bit.
Here's how I think the fight's going to go down, and I really hope we have at least a couple fights, or at least the fight we get is long. Because if it's like a 3-minute fight of Batman v Superman,
not worth it.
Bummer. But what I think is going to happen is Superman could beat him at any point, but Superman
chooses not to.
But chooses not to because he doesn't want to kill Batman. Because I'm assuming Batman will put him in a position where the only thing he could do is kill Batman, and because of what happened at the end of Man of Steel, he will refuse to kill Batman, and Batman will find that because he refuses to kill him,
maybe he's not
such a bad guy, and they'll come to an understanding.
Right.
Another shot of Wonder Woman, better shot of the costume here. It does look pretty good, but again, just the issue with having no pants is kind of weird. Superman flying somewhere in the destruction of a city. God help us all, people who are sheltering themselves from the fanboys who are going to say, Superman, there was too much destruction. I get it. I totally understand, but fanboys incoming.
Versus man.
I love this shot because it's clearly directly ripped from the cover of Dark Knight Returns. The lightning strike in the background, his arm down. Here he is a grapple, but clearly it's just a way to get to the shot.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I'm glad they had the thought to do that.
Mm-hmm. And also, it's just a really cool fight between the two of them.
Him dodging this laser blast with that grapple.
So Batman.
It is, and surprisingly, we've never really seen that in any of the Batman movies. He has a grapple, but usually he's being shot at by a couple thugs, and it'll take 20 seconds to fire a grapple and slowly go up. Him using this grapple in sort of an action, quick escape.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Kind of his thing. Like that's his number one gadget. Maybe the Batarang, but only because that's iconic. But he's always using the grapple hook.
Yeah.
Day versus night.
Love the Batman smashing in through the window, very Batman, and again, something we haven't seen in the other Batman movies, so I'm glad we're getting some...
He did it in Japan, but he kind of rolled.
Yeah, it seems like the people who wrote this movie were a little more familiar with maybe comic Batman and maybe wanted to do something a little closer to that.
Actually, it was Hong Kong. Sorry, fanboys.
The red capes are coming. The red capes are coming.
I love that delivery.
I do.
Because only Eisenberg could pull that off.
That's one of the lines that makes me relatively confident in his performance.
Because that's a shitty line.
Yeah, it really is.
Overall. But he's just so cocky about it and kind of like, I have my drink and, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It feels very good. This is great.
Perfectly shows the relationship between Batman and Superman initially, and I'm glad that they included this shot because it sets a tone. It's adversarial, but even though Superman is essentially a god, Batman stands up.
Without the armor stuff on him.
Yeah.
And I also like that when we're seeing Batman fight Superman or encounter him, it's not just, I'm Batman and I'm punching shit. He's got the Batmobile in this, the grapple hook in the other one, and a fucking suit of armor in the one after that. He needs aid to hang in there, and I just wish people would be more cognizant of that. Like, That's kind of Batman's thing. He's always got something to help himself.
Yeah. Dawn of Justice, which we've known is going to be the subtitle for a while, but I do think that because of stuff like that, we're going to get a lot more Justice League stuff at the end of the movie. I don't think it's going to be just Batman and Superman. Wonder Woman's there, so she's certainly going to be in it, and I think we're going to see Aquaman.
I'm good with Aquaman and Cyborg. I'm worried about how they're going to do The Flash because I don't like the series. I know a lot of people do.
I've grown to the series. I don't think it's a good show, but it's a show I like, if that makes sense.
I guess, but I just hope that because they're doing a Flash movie, whenever they pull that off and whenever they incorporate, because he's one of the main people in the Justice League. I mean, he's super important. Also, Martian Manhunter. If they can pull those two guys off, because it looks like they're doing the rest really well, I think we have a really, really good shot at having another good superhero series, and not just because Man of Steel, a lot of people got let down by, but they're putting that up against like Avengers, which is it's hard to get to that point in your first movie.
It is, but it's hard to compare the two also because I really think they're going for totally different kinds of movies. I do think they announced Green Lantern Corps as their new Green Lantern movie. I like the idea because apparently it's not going to be just one Green Lantern. It's not going to just.
I'm okay with that.
It's not going to just focus on the one human. It's going to focus on the other famous ones from the series.
If you don't think Green Lantern can carry his own movie, I think that's the way to go.
And I'm hoping they'll take a cue from Guardians of the Galaxy, not necessarily in the humor, but the fact that people are willing to accept a superhero movie that takes place primarily in space and has a lot of aliens and stuff, and it's still a movie people will watch.
Interesting, because the Green Lantern lore is really rich. So if they go deep into that and just let you be in Green Lanternville for a while, and they don't try to it's a jet pilot and he's brave. Okay, but we need more than that.
And that's it. So that's the trailer. Really good. Makes me far more confident in this movie than I was before. And really, I'm just crossing my fingers for him because I'm rooting for these movies. I want them to be good because I really like Batman. I like Superman. I like the whole DC stuff, and I'd like DC and Marvel to be comparable, even if they're doing different things. And Marvel is focusing on fun popcorn summer action movies with comedy, and DC tries to do dramatic,
a little bit darker,
with some pathos and really good acting. I could totally do that. That's awesome.
I totally dig on that, and I'm really glad that they're not doing Marvel clones because I don't want any more.
No,
of that.
And the two companies have always had different ways of doing things, and I think that makes sense to translate it to
especially with this kind of Batman, because you saw how dark that, like with the dead Jason Todd references and shit, like that's a good way to do it, and it just has someone like Superman, it just has so much more gravity to the situation. If you're like, yes, people fucking die all the time and we're trying not to make that happen, but it's awful and that's why we have to be here, that's much more interesting to me than robots fights. So hopefully it could become my favorite series, even though I love Marvel, judging by this trailer. So hopefully the movie doesn't suck. And hopefully the rest of their stuff
who knows? Because Man of Steel trailers are really, really good too. But the movie, I don't hate the movie, but it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So anyway, thanks everyone. We'll be back later in the week to talk about Suicide Squad because that trailer did officially get released. And that looks very interesting. Very different in tone. Still dark, but much slower. And we get our first look at Jared Leto as the Joker, which I'm the first person to admit I think the tattoos are stupid as fuck. But goddamn it, if the couple seconds of footage of him talking didn't get me excited.
It's pretty cool.
So
if you guys have any opinions down there, let us know how you felt about the trailer. Let us know how you feel about maybe the possibility of the movie being, including like people like Aquaman and Cyborg. And keep coming back.
So, thanks everyone. Until next time, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake.
And this has been Unpopular Culture, looking at Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
That was very good.